Okay, so there's a couple things in the packet you need to know. So this is the first thing that you need to know. And the question will say something like, are the following points solutions to the equation? Another way to say this is, do the points lie on the line? Okay? Are they on the line? So I've got an equation, 3x plus y equals 7, and I've got a point. I want to know, is 2, 1 on the line? How can I find out? Monica? Yes. Look, we have x, y coordinates, right? So any point that's on the line has to be true. So if I plug in 2 for x and 1 for y, do I get a true statement? So 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Does 7 equal 7? Yes. So is 2, 1 on the line? Yes, it is. Okay. Let's try 3, negative 4. So plug 3 in for x and negative 4 in for y. So 3 times 3, negative 4 goes in for y, equals 7. What's 3 times 3? 9. What's 9 minus 4? And so we say to ourselves, so does 5 equal 7? No, it does not. So is this point on the line? Nope. Everybody good? Do we have to do the last 3? You guys got this? Okay. So plug them in, x for the x, y for the y, in each part of the coordinate. Some of you guys are still writing. Let's do another one. All right, x-intercepts and y-intercepts. So just like thinking about a graph, if you were going to graph something right here, so here's my xy axis, and let's say we have a line going through here, okay? How do I know what the x-intercept is? Andrew? Okay. So we're going to see where the line crosses the x-axis. So right here, anywhere it crosses the x-axis is the x-intercept. That coordinate point, what would that coordinate point look like? Let's say it crossed at negative 1. What would the coordinate point be? Negative 1, 0. So the x-intercept, what are you always going to have for the y? 0. Yes, the x-intercept, write this down. X-intercept is when y equals 0. So no matter what, wherever it crosses on the x-axis here, you're going to have 0 for y, right? That's because you don't move up or down if you're on that line. So for the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. So that would be right here, correct? Y-intercept. Let's say this point is 1, positive 1. What would the coordinate point be? Good. It would be 0, 1. So the y-intercept, if you're crossing the y-axis, what's your x always going to be? 0. You're not moving left or right at all, right? So the y-intercept is always when x equals 0. All right, so we're going to find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. So my first one, let's start with the x-intercept. So to find the x-intercept, I'm going to plug 0 in for which variable? Y. It's always opposite. So we have 3x plus 2 times 0 equals 6. Okay, 2 times 0 is 0. Cancels out. We have 3x equals 6. What's the next step? Divide by 3. What do we get for x? Okay, we want to write it as a coordinate point, though. X, comma, y. What's the x? What is the y always? 0. Yeah. Okay, so there's our coordinate point for our x-intercept. So let's do the same thing with the y-intercept for the same equation, okay? So the y-intercept, which variable, Nico, do I plug in 0 for? X. Good, the x. It's always opposite. So 3 times 0 plus 2y equals 6. So I use that equation, plug 0 in for x. Okay, 3 times 0 is? Okay, divide both sides by 2. What does y equal? 3. Now we need it as an x, y coordinate point. So Alex, what's my x, y coordinate point? Very Very good. 0, 3. You guys want to know a trick. If you're in standard form, which is what this is, then this problem is super easy. If I cross this off, what does y equal? So what is my y-intercept? 0, 3. How about if I cross off the other piece? If I cross that off, what does x equal? Oh, super easy, right? But don't forget, you have to write this as a coordinate point where x goes in the x spot, y goes in the y spot, and the other one's 0, right? Because it's an intercept. So to cross that off, we were really plugging 0 in, okay? So let's see if we can do the other one like the shortcut way, all right? So let's say I cross off the y, right? I cross off the whole y piece because I technically plugged in 0 in my head, right? So what number, Dylan's, in front of x that we don't see here? Close. Close. -1, right? So if I divide both sides by -1, then, Julia, what does x equal to? Close. Closer. -6. So x equals -6, right? Everybody good with that? Now we write it as a coordinate point. Jordan, what would my coordinate point be? Okay, you guys, is that the x-intercept or the y-intercept? That is the x-intercept. All right, so now let's do the other one. Let me erase what I started with here. Okay, so to do the other one, we're going to cross off the entire x piece right here. And so, Micaiah, what am I dividing both sides by? Yep, we're dividing both sides by -4. We should probably just reduce that fraction, or a decimal would be fine. So, Isaac, what would the reduced fraction be? Good, so y equals -3/2. Now I have to write it as a coordinate point. So, Sophia, what coordinate point would that be? Okay, got it? So if you want the shortcut way, fine. If you want to show this way, this is always a great way to do it as well. Plug 0 in for each one, get your answer. Same thing happens, okay? You guys can do this one, but. All right, write this one down. 4x minus y equals 1. Write the equation in slope-intercept form. Raise your hand if you know what slope-intercept form is. Good, Ella. It is. This is a very important equation. Y equals mx plus b. M is the slope. B is the y-intercept. Okay, good. So in order to get it in y equals mx plus b form, Riley, what do I need to do to that equation? Okay, we start by moving the x to the other side. So Ben, how do I get rid of this positive 4x? Yes, we have to subtract 4x. Do not lose the negative that's in front of y, okay? We still have a negative y. And on the other side, we want the x piece first, always. So minus 4x minus 1. Okay, Nate, what number's in front of y that we don't see? 1. Close. There we go. There's a -1 in front of y. So we actually need to divide each thing by -1 for our final step. We get y equals positive 4x plus 1. We divided everything by a negative. Okay, and just a quick review. Evie, what's the slope? 4/1. Julia, what's the y-intercept? Nope, just 1, right? The b, y equals mx plus whatever's in that spot right there is the y-intercept. By the way, if I plug 0 in for x, what do I get for y? 1. That's what we just did, right? So it's the y-intercept, 0, 1. Okay? All right, that's it.